Every few years, the Toronto Raptors find that guy, the one no one saw coming, the one who wasn't supposed to make it, undrafted, overlooked. Well, there's a new name buzzing north of the border, Chucky Hepburn, a bulldog defender, a floor general with ice in his veins, a quick decision maker, a leader who's been battle tested since day one at Wisconsin.
Hepburn from the corner, got it. It was a terrible shot. Yes. Hepburn, one.
You can doubt his height, you can question the stats, you can't measure his poise, his motor, or his heart. This kid fits the Raptors' DNA to perfection. Smart, scrappy, fearless, everything Toronto loves in an underdog. So today, we're breaking down Chucky Hepburn and why he could be the next undrafted success story for the Toronto Raptors.
Plus, y'all asked for years, everybody in here, y'all been into it, but, I appreciate y'all for coming through for real, and I'm excited to announce I'm going to be a Toronto Raptor.
Following the legendary path of Fred VanVleet, we're going to look at film, and we're going to bring on my man, Ersin Demir, the guy who on draft night said this. You're inviting 3 players to your summer league. Who are the 3 players on this list?
I'm inviting Chucky Hepburn. That's 1.
Let's get to it. Ersin, how are you doing, man?
I'm doing great, bro. Thanks for having me on again, man. Was looking forward to this one.
My pleasure. Everyone keeps commenting how you're like the best guest in Pittsburgh basketball history, how she probably replaced me as the host. You're like the ultimate draft knower. So I'm curious, given all of the work that we did during the draft cycle, all the watching, I want to use this episode to talk about Chucky Hepburn. I also want to talk about Colin Murray-Boyles because he's been standing out big time. His defense has been great for the Raptors. But I also want to talk about the rookie class. Anything you've seen in Summer League that's surprising, maybe a player who's a little bit worse than you thought, maybe a player who's looking a little bit better than you thought. Anything sticks out?
Well, actually, I've been focusing on the new class a lot. I think 95% goes watching the new guys. I've seen very little of Summer League, but I've seen some of the highlight things, man. I think Edgecombe is going to be fantastic, man. I think his athleticism is crazy with the dunks he put on. I think that's exactly how the Sixers going to use him.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, man, the standard stuff. I think a lot of guys stood out. But that says nothing in this stage of the league, because in preseason, the environment is kind of set up for them to show something. And I think in comparison to maybe last year, a lot of guys have shown something. So, it's still projecting the future.
So
I try to not value preseason too much, but flashes are always good.
The flashes have been crazy. So a few things have stuck out. 1, Cooper Flag, right? Looks very NBA ready for an 18-year-old. Not perfect by any means, but the athleticism sticks out. And that was interesting to see that. Now, on the level where he's not the biggest, strongest guy on the court, would he still look as athletic? And I think he does. The second guy who really stuck out to me, Dylan Harper. When we saw Dylan Harper splitting pick and roll, like he's Manu Ginobili, like he looked really good. I just like his processing and his poise. Another player that's obviously stuck out to me is Carter Bryant. Of course, Carter Bryant. Love Carter Bryant. Had that pull-up 3 looking like Jason Tatum to pretty much ice the game for the Spurs. And then, he touched the top of the box on the backboard. And, you see flashes of athleticism and you're like, holy shit, the Spurs are going to be so good. But another guy who's really stuck out to me is Chucky Hepburn. And I didn't know virtually anything about Chucky Hepburn at Louisville because I didn't watch Louisville last year. I just didn't, it just didn't come on my radar. He wasn't on my board. But the minute the draft ended and I asked you, who would you call? You said Chucky Hepburn. Walk Toronto Raptor fans through what you saw in him that made you so confident.
Well, crazy enough for me, lazily, because he was in his 4th year, I just assumed he's going to come back, man. I wasn't expecting him. Otherwise, I would put him in the 2nd round somewhere because a guy like him is what the NBA needs. And what I liked about him is, I think what I saw from him when he plays for the Raptors in the preseason games is how he recognizes angles as a defender, man. And he's trying to make the most of it. And what I liked about him in comparison to Louisville, where he was one of the guys, and he emerged as one of their defensive guys and their go-to later in the season. But at Wisconsin, he was just, when they needed the bucket, they went to win. in addition to everything what he does in defense, you know. And I saw that he was in top 5 in the conference in total steals in 3 seasons. And that's feasible because if you look how he processes the game, especially on the defensive end, how his defensive footwork's opening up opportunities for him to collect these steals. Because a lot of steals is good, but most of the times guys are just gambling on offense. So they give away 5 points and save three. And but it looks great in box scores, but actually in the game it doesn't really help the team. But with Hepburn it's different, man. He's coming up big time and generating these transition offenses because of how he reads angles against opposing ball handlers. Not even point guards, just ball handlers. He's toughness medicine in the NBA. He might be 6'2", 6'3", but he can guard a 6'5" player with ease. At least disrupt them, unbalance them. And the most vital thing for me that's gonna stick out in the league is his core strength, man, and his footwork. He's always keeping himself in balance, always pivoting a little bit wide. That's what I loved most about him when I'm watching a little bit of him back from Louisville. When he's defending in the pick and roll, he's always pivoting in his last step a little bit wide, so the ball that has to go not through him but sides him. That gives him a little bit of breathing space. And he's not the quickest guy, but he's strong and he's decently quick. So he has two weapons to answer at any time. So that's why a little bit long-winded, but he's gonna stay in front of a lot of ball hands, man, in the NBA.
Well,
That's
that's
his
what
main
I've
value, in
seen,
my
and that's
opinion.
been so surprising is because, typically when you get into the ball this much at the NBA level, when you have more skilled ball handlers, bigger ball handlers, you get burned a lot on the backside, right? And what I like about him is his pairing with Colin Murray Boyles, Jonathan Mobo, Scotty Barnes, like these big wing, weak side type of help defenders. When he can pressure, I think he can pressure and contain the basketball. Reminds me a little bit of Davion Mitchell in that sense. Maybe he's not as quote unquote athletic as Davion Mitchell, but I'm so impressed by his defensive process, his motor. He has a little bit of length to him too. I mean, he's 6'2" with a 6'4" wingspan, so he's a little bit bigger than Fred VanVleet, Kyle Lowry, etc. And the afro probably gives him an extra 2 inches too. So that's that's not the worst thing in the world. But I think overall, what I've been the most impressed by is his ability to read the floor. It has just been impeccably impressive. I knew he was smart. I knew he was smart. 4-year college point guard, last year ACC defensive player of the year. I knew he was going to be like really smart, heady type of point guard. I didn't know he was going to look smart on an NBA court. And through preseason, he has. Here's a shocking stat. Going into the last game, he was leading every single player in preseason in steals in the NBA. Isn't that shocking? Like it is a bizarro, like to me, it is absolutely an insane amount of poise and direction. So when I think about what maybe led to him going undrafted, obviously concerns over the fact that he shot 32% from three. We'll get into that. We'll look at his shooting form, etc. There's obviously concerns about him being a little bit older. Obviously, a lot of the players who were drafted were 18, 19, 20 years old. So on that end, he's a little bit old. There's also concerns about the fact that he's a little bit undersized. He doesn't have a lot of vertical pop. He's not the quickest guy. But to me, and this is kind of crazy, watching some of his offense, and I went back after we signed him and I watched like 14, 15 full games that I could find. I watched the film study. Am I crazy to say offensively he reminds me a little bit of like a very miniature Cade Cunningham? Is that a completely
Nah,
insane comparison?
nah, I think it's a little bit unfair because one of the other side of the coins when I'm watching him is he's too reliant on the 3-point shot. Just not me just looking at the numbers, but because he lacks a little bit of the quickness, he has to
Yeah,
have everything from his craft to get downhill. And in the NBA, he has to earn a little bit of leverage for his threes to really make it sustainable. He can be
right.
shooting 5 from 6 tonight and 1 from 6 tomorrow. But the positive is that if he's having a down night shooting, he's gonna improve a team's defensive rating nonetheless. So it doesn't hurt the team too much to give him 10, 15 minutes because he's not, too much reliant on putting stats, but I think he shoot a little bit too much threes because he has no,
In
a
between.
broad arsenal of getting downhill. And I think that's why one of the concerns that maybe led to him going undrafted. Because at Louisville he was assistant player. And at
Right.
Wisconsin it's kind of a similar thing, but I think at Wisconsin he had a little bit more of freedom. And Yeah, it's just situational, you know. I think him going to the Raptors makes a lot of sense because they are trying to build through that defense, right? Let's say he goes to a team which is only offensively focused, he's not going to get the same opportunity. So it's kind of lucky there as well. And of course, the
Right.
Raptors made a good decision of trying him out.
I actually like him a lot more. Not I was gonna say a little bit more. I like him a lot more than Elijah Martin. A lot more. Now, Elijah is the pop athlete. He's the vertical burst athlete. He's the guy with the broad shoulders, looks like a football player, looks like a Greek god, really, like in terms of how he's carved out, right? Chucky doesn't have that, right? But what Chucky has is the processing. He is never sped up. He gets off the ball so quickly. That's what I've noticed in preseason. He doesn't pound the basketball. He's not like consistently. Now, okay, last game he struggled a little bit. They faltered down the stretch. But there was a game where the Raptors climbed back like from 26 down, 25 down, and he was instrumental in like pulling them back together. He found everybody for open looks. He's quickly off the ball, gets on the ball. He's hitting pull-up threes over Namus Cato like he's freaking Damian Lillard. Like again, like the handle is tight, right? The handle is tight. You mentioned core strength. I think he's very strong. You have to be strong to get into the ball this much. You're going to get knocked off balance so often, right? When you get into a defender's handle the way he does, you're going to get bumped. You're going to get picked. You have to be so on balance and you have to anticipate so well. Love this comment here. Who cares about the 14th guy on the roster? Why are you here? James Welsh, he might get cut. I will guarantee you, as God is my witness, he ain't getting cut. If he gets cut, I quit on this team. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to look at some of his defensive, we're going to look at some of his plays. We're going to look at 5 defensive highlights, see what he does, how he does it. Not all of these are going to be successful plays, but I fired them up at random, and let's just see what comes out of it. First, let's look at the defense with Chucky Hepburn. Hang on 1 second. Pull this off. Okay, so I'm going to make us small at the bottom of the screen. Nope. I might have to... Here, I think that's perfect. Okay, so let's fire this up. So these are defensive highlights. And I would just like to know your thoughts on this. So this, he's at the top right. I apologize. Some of the defensive highlights are a little bit grainy. My apologies. This was like 360p scaled up. So this is just his defensive, ability here, funneling towards the help here. I think it's just sound positionally. And here, this ability to just get his hands out of the way to avoid the foul. It's like, when you're a very handsy defender like Davion Mitchell, guys like this, you often pick up a lot of fouls. So the ability to contest while avoiding the foul. Is there anything you saw in that play that really strikes you?
2 things, man. He's actively tagging the tag, the initial contact, and if you look at his right foot, he's actively pivoting out wide, because he's trying to focus him too much into the little bit of the stronger side with to help defenders coming in. And that's the thing that you have to do. You have to make the court a little bit smaller for him because 9 out of 10 guys, people are getting blown by in this position because they try to focus on staying with him. But he's popping a little bit out with that right pivot. I think him pivoting it out. I think 1 microsecond before the scorer gathers. That's where he's closing the angle a little bit and forcing him into an unbalanced shot because that's everything that he has to do. Even if this guy scores, that's a position that you live with,
Absolutely.
because he's clearly unbalanced.
Yeah, and I mean, look, I understand that there's some people who look at a guy like Chucky Hepburn and say, "Who cares? He's not super athletic. He's older guy, 6'2". He's not a high end prospect." But to those people, I would say, then go watch Dariq Whitehead. Like, you know what I mean? Like, like Chucky Hepburn is no joke, man. This was a 4-star recruit. Okay. To Toronto Raptor fans out there, Colin Murray-Boyles was also a 4-star recruit, right? Jonathan Mobo was a 0-star recruit. I mean, we don't know who these guys are at 22. What we do know is that Chucky Hepburn has gotten better for 5 straight years, and I really trust this guy's work. And okay, here, so again, switch, perfect, contains, makes the defender turn. Here, continues to stay wide, as you said, like he likes to stay wide here, right? And look at this.
Just as the ball and he spin a little bit, but he pivoted out again a little bit wide. I think that's what he has to do because he has the size against him, he has the speed against him, so he has to close the angles. I think the angles is the most important thing, and you can't put a star on grit, and toughness, and that's what he does because he's always seeking that initial contact. Maybe he can
Absolutely.
unbalance this player because he's older than most of the guys that he's facing in college. Maybe not today anymore because college
Right.
basketball is an old man's game nowadays, but he's trying to close the angles because that's all that you have to do. And it's a team game. And with better NBA spacing, he's kind of light for more help defenders to arrive. But that's if you're 6'6", you play in the same way. And if he's not angling, closing that angle or pivoting out wide, he's gonna get blown by because 9 out of 10 guys are quicker than him. Let's be honest. And I kind of taking guys like Hepburn over the raw athleticism with the guys who quote unquote have to learn the game. Because this guy, it's clearly that he reads defenders very well. And he's focusing on the angles. If he closes the angles and unbalances the scorer, that's all he has to do. And
Absolutely.
maybe that's me thinking too simple, but 10 unbalanced shots will maybe get you 30-40%. But wide open layups, man, the defense dies in that regard, and he's going to be off the floor very quickly.
Mm-hmm. And so here, Louisville is, I would say, off balance defensively. There's an open shooter towards the right. There's another shooter who's popping up towards the left. They're maybe too aggressively in the drop here. So here, that's Chucky Hepburn right there. Now, he is the low man for some reason because this is how their transition defense broke out. But I want to show you how quickly he reads the play ahead. Right here, he's already looking. You can see his body angling to sprint to the corner.
Yeah.
Right. So there's the anticipation. And here, as this pump fake happens, he knows it's not a pump fake. And this is how quickly, like when people who play recreational basketball have no idea the speed of which decisions have to be made at elite Division I level and especially NBA level. Court mapping is everything. Knowing this shooter is in the corner, even though you're smaller and you're having to look, over people, is very important to me. And look at his body's been angling for about 2 seconds now, and now he just straight sprints, but in control, and is able to just be there, and it results in an air ball. Right? So
Exactly.
it's the small things, man. It's the small things. Here we're gonna see it again. Just the late contest there. High hand, late contest, decent, right? Just a contest.
Can we go to the previous clip with the one him rushing to the corner? Because one of the interesting things is that where the guys have a great feel for the game is if you look at this position a little bit earlier before he sprints to the corner, you have the guy at the elbow. I think it's the tall white guy right there,
Mm-hmm.
and he can afford to leave the corner open because this guy is in the passing angle of that ball and above the break, and that's where he can take a gamble. Okay, this guy has the angle to my corner closed. I can rush to the other end, and that's the best
Exactly.
decision that you can make at that position, even especially in the NBA, because it's all about angles, right? With the bigger floor, and maybe a crafty passer will find that strong side corner, but that's okay because it's all
Exactly.
about the thought with him.
Absolutely.
And here's
And I
the
mean,
same way
again, it's
because
just
he's not overhelping in this play either, because he's
exactly.
closing the driving lane because the ball hand goes to the strong side. He's just staying firm, and then he has a little bit of space to immediately close out with the pass that's inevitable. He's forcing the pass and then he's closing out because that's all he has to do. Because he's not really making the game complicated, but he's reading the game to make it simple for himself. And I think that's a true skill, man, where you can see the guy has a real feel for the game.
Absolutely. And I think like there's that old clip. Do you remember that movie Moneyball with Brad Pitt, right? And
Yeah.
Jonah Hill and Brad Pitt are having this back and forth, and they're talking with the scouts, and they say, "What do we like about him? He gets on base. What do we like about him? He gets on base. He gets on base." It's like, we don't care that he throws funny. He gets on base, right? Chucky Hepburn gets on base. Whatever the basketball equivalent is of getting on base, he gets there. He gets to the spot. He beats his guy to the spot. Offensively, he finds himself in the right corner. Does he make the right shot? No. Is he always prepared to take the right shot? Almost always. Like my film analysis of him, like here he's going to get beat. He pops up a little bit and this defender just bam. But he continues to pursue. He didn't just give up on the play. He didn't just throw his hands up like, "Oh shit, I guess someone got it." He continues to pursue from behind, and I like that. I wanted to show a clip where he got beat, and just his little bit of pressure from the back does help force that miss. And here, once again, this is just going to be him sort of just being in the passing lane. Number 24, we see there. Here, once again, look at that second effort, right?
It's
Now
just a
here, he
tight end, man,
cuts
with a
off that
big block in
drive, gets back once again on position wide, right? Wide stance, hands up, exactly, trailing the, sort of mirroring the defender with his feet. He's opening up middle because he knows that's where the help is. So he's cutting off the left hand drive. And here he just takes a steal. Like, it's the small things, but I promise anyone who understands, like, truly
man.
has
It's
played
all about
basketball at any level.
rotations.
Absolutely.
He's gonna get beaten in NBA, but it's all about rotations from there. I think that was a great example showing of him at least closing the passing angle to the cutter.
Mm-hmm.
Taking away the easy pass in the paint, the double paint touches.
Yeah.
And then it's all about, of course, the team defense. They have to show up either.
Yeah. So here we're going to talk about his shooting, because this has been a quote unquote weakness. I actually don't think it's a weakness of his. I just think he had bad percentages last couple of years. In his sophomore year, he did, I think his second year, he shot 40% from three on pretty damn insane volume. Like, he took 40% of his shots from three and he made 40% of them. So it is pretty cool, right? Trendy views. Are you known to Chucky in some way? Are you a fan? Or are you a Raptor fan? I'm very curious. You've been very, very passionate in the chat, so I appreciate you very much. And yes, a lot of people in Toronto are going to love this guy. I know this fan base. I know exactly how they think. They're going to love this guy. So here we go, Chucky Hepburn, and this is the first of two little blurry clips. They do get a little bit better. They get a little bit less blurry from this point on, but here we're just going to see this pull-up three in transition, and this is going to miss. And, when we look at shooting percentages as a blanket statement for this guy can't shoot because he shot 27%, 32%, I think we need to look at the difficulty of some of the shots that they're being asked to generate. They're not just a standstill corner shooter like PJ Tucker. They're actually taking shots off the dribble, on the pull-up, early transition, late clock, bailouts. There's lots of stuff that a lead initiator, or even someone like Luka Doncic, someone like Devin Booker, we have to look at if they're guarded, are they covered? He is guarded on almost every three I look at. Every three. Okay. So defenses are respecting him as a shooter. Whether he shoots 32%, look at the contest. That's a difficult shot. I mean, pressed up against the sideline, pull up jump shot with the clock down to 3 seconds. Yeah, that's a difficult shot. These are difficult shots. I think his shots can get easier at the NBA level. Here, once again, here he's going to knife into the middle. This play is going to be very Cade Cunningham-esque. Cade does this shit all the time. Takes that little dribble handoff, sees the low man here, decides, you know what? I don't feel like trying Ryan Cockbrenner right now. I'm just going to take this mid-range shot. That shot will be very important for him, I think, as he goes forward. Anything you want to add here?
100%, man. I think the most vital skill in the NBA to survive as a shooter is the one dribble pull-up. That's his strength. But at Wisconsin and Louisville, it's all about, the opposing scouting report. Throw one at him, throw a double at him. Because
Right.
he's always covered so tightly. So he has to create the angles a little bit off the dribble. And he's forcing his threes a little bit too much. I think that's where the bad percentages come from. But honestly, people call me crazy for it. I don't care about shooting numbers, man. You can be 40% shooter off the catch and can shoot in the NBA because that's all you do. But this guy has the skill to create a little bit of a shooting angle in one or two dribbles for himself. But he's falling in love with the three a little bit too much. I think that's my thing with him. Because he doesn't really have the quickness or the craft and the scoring arsenal to get downhill consistently. Because he has to settle for threes. But I like the one against Creighton where he saw the drop, and that's where you have to focus on the mid-range. The
Right.
mid-range is a hated shot, but that's the best shot that you can take in this one, especially against drop coverage 5. That's where you
Right.
have to live on these one dribble mid-range or threes, man. But again, is it sustainable? Yeah, it's
Don't you
it's
find
not
that
really that
the paint-
sustainable. But
do
he
you
has to
find
find more leverage for
do you
his
find
threes.
that the paint will be a little bit more open in the NBA for him? I
100%,
understand
man, because
because there's more space, right?
he's
And there's no
Yeah,
drop
exactly.
big sitting there the entire game. It's just like EuroLeague, right? There's a lot of players who
Yeah,
can't attack the paint in EuroLeague, but they get over here and they can suddenly, because everything's open. Giannis,
yeah,
Luka,
exactly. And he's not
they've
at the
all
top
said
of the
it's easier to
scouting
score
board.
there, right? Exactly. So yeah, I mean, and this is an example of a nice catch and shoot here. And I think honestly, with playmakers like CMB, playmakers like Scotty, BI, RJ, he's not going to be asked to handle ball handling duties like he's Mike Conley, right? Just come in, be good off the catch, hit your open shots, be a pesky defender on the ball, basically do everything that Davion Mitchell couldn't really do last year for us, right? So be that sort of 90th percentile pressure defender who racks up steals and gets us into transition, because obviously transition efficiency is going to be like, even the worst transition teams are going to be like 126 offensive rating in transition. That's great offensive rating. If he can pull you into transition, and also, we're going to see a play where he turns defense into offense. He switches ends very fast. So he is able to spark your transition in a way that I think Davion couldn't, because last year, sometimes Davion would get a steal and then he would hang on to the ball for 2 seconds, take 2 wasted dribbles, by which point your transition advantage is over. He doesn't do that. He takes the dig and forces a turnover and is immediately looking up the court to see who has an advantage. So I really like, but this type of shot right here, this closeout, right? And again, everything we're seeing here, he's contested. He's contested on every single shot here, right? Like again, I don't want to say they're running him off the line, but he's significantly behind the line. And this is, I would consider, a contested shot. These are contested shots. So obviously defenses register him as a shooter. And if they're not going to register him as a shooter at the NBA level, quite frankly, I think he's going to make a lot
He's
more
gonna
shots.
benefit.
Yeah, he's gonna benefit a ton. I don't think you can just leave him alone though. I really don't. Like I think he's gonna make them, and he's proving it so far in preseason. So here, the stuff that Ersin says is like a weakness. Here's some of that stuff, right? So here's some of that like dribble creation. I really like this move. This sort of like clip back to your left hand. So you're just kind of manipulating this sort of snake dribble, right? That good guards have to have that ability to sort of play with the defender on your hip and manipulate them. And I like this move. It's a good move.
Now, 100%, because he's facing the drop coverage big man and he can attack him, but yeah, Colburn is what, 7'4", so he has to beat him in his own territory. So he has to find an angle another way, and
Was
that's
it
where the tight handles matter, man.
absolutely? Is it fair to say Kalkbrenner was the best shot blocker in collegiate basketball last year?
I think he's one off, but he won Big East Defensive Player of the Year 4 times in a row, just
Yeah,
like Pat Ewing. It's crazy, man. And I think people were not really just like Klingon. You don't want to face him at the rim. You just settle. And in the
I'm
NBA, he's
glad
going to
you
make
mentioned that.
decisions like that, and has to
I'm
be creative. And I think that's where the creativity matters, and
Well, I'm
that's what he
glad you
has shown
mentioned
here.
that, because I deliberately brought up some plays against Creighton because they have this very dominant big, in the paint, which is interesting, because you typically would assume that against a big like this who can cover the rim so well, given that you yourself are an undersized guard who lacks vertical pop at the rim, that you would not really be attacking downhill very often. But here, we're going to see him once again try to get down the middle, right? Pressure the defense. I like this about turn. Once again, that I consider that dribble manipulation. I consider that you sort of hezzy fake the defender there. And now you're facing a 2-on-1 at the rim. 23 is late. It's 1-on-1 against Ryan Kalkbrenner. And here, he's just going to go up through Ryan Kalkbrenner, which I loved, right? He went right into the shot blocker's body. No fear, right? And once again, here we go. So who's the drop? No one. No one is back. Cuts right through the defense, goes up, goes around, and Kalkbrenner doesn't get back in time.
And the deceleration is great with him, man. He's just buying himself an extra second just to make a decision.
Exactly.
And with the play that the second play against Cockman is where he saw the screener at his left, use that screen, decel, and he has a 2-on-1. He can pass or he can finish the layup. And I like how he went strong against him. So he's not really backing away from the 7'2" tower, to put it like that. He's just
Exactly.
going to make the best decision for himself. Will he make a bad decision every now and then? Of course. But yeah, no one is perfect, especially when you're undrafted.
So I think sometimes what I like to do when I'm watching a prospect breakdown, whether I'm watching CMB, Carter Bryant, or I'm watching this dude, Chucky Hepburn, is I'll freeze the floor right now. And I'll say, with the benefit of my vantage point right now, with my basketball IQ, knowing that I know the right play, what is the right thing to do right here? And then I'll see if he figures out, when does he figure it out? When does the situation change? Does he adapt? Does he adjust? This is the best way, in my opinion, to look at any prospect that you want to talk about, whether you're talking Ace Bailey or Dylan Harper or whoever, Wemby, and just say, what did they see? When did they see it? How did they react? So here, I see an open paint. So my first thought here is, don't pull up, fake the pull up and drive. 23 is not fast enough to guard you. He's a high hip defender. I'm thinking beat zero to the basket. That's my first thought. What are you thinking when you see this situation?
I think he has to win some time, and as you say, man, try to get the 22 out of balance with a fake, and then drive downhill, man. Uh, you
Are you
can't leave this
concerned at
position with the
all
floor.
about floor balance? So you've got him up here. He's got one teammate coming back. Technically, there's three defenders. You've got a third offensive player coming up. You're saying win some time. You're saying like be a little bit more patient so you have good offensive rebounding position before you go for your drive.
Yeah, exactly. Because he has three defenders. Even if he beats 23, the help defense will be there. He can draw a foul at the best of the position. But if he wins a split second, then the cutter down the middle will be a second option. And I think with the second option, the help defenders will be more cautious and not, fully go on him. And if they do, he can execute. And that's what he does here, with the small
Exactly.
hesitation. He gets him in the air, just attacks him, and then everything after that is just execution. And he may miss, but he's making the right read, and that's what you have to do. But if he pulls up from here, that's a wasted position, man. Even if the ball goes in,
I
that's not
completely agree.
sustainable.
So there's a version of this, okay? I know that there's an AAU player. I think there's some NBA players right now that immediately will fake to their left hand and drive down the middle right here. They'll cut through and they'll try to split 23 and 0, and they'll deal with taking 0 at the rim. I like that he doesn't do that. Now, we can debate all day whether he could do that, can't do that. He lacks the vertical pop. He's not Ja Morant. He's not Steve Francis, so he can't even do that. But I think the point that you bring up about waiting for your teammates in this situation so that you can use them as a sort of decoy to your drive is super smart. Because here, that little hesitation allows his teammate to get back in the play. Now, 0 has to think, do I help? And then give up this little shovel pass to this guy for an open dunk, right? You're giving them something to think about by waiting for your teammates here. Now, the minute you shake 23, now you're going one-on-one against 0, who's way too close,
Yeah,
reaches,
I think
and then goes up and around. So basically, like when
exactly.
you're playing against Creighton, honestly, if I'm a guard playing against Creighton, my entire game is beat Ryan Kalkbrenner down the court. I just don't want to deal with him at the rim. So I just want to get to the rim before he gets to the rim. And yeah, like I think there's just so many times, like again, Fred VanVleet, if people watch Fred VanVleet, should not be good at basketball at the NBA level. He simply shouldn't be. He's kind of oompa loompa, body type. He's not bursty. He's not quick. What Fred VanVleet does is he reads angles very well. And I think this guy reads angles very well, right? So here, once again, right, beats his man and then beats the help. Very
Yeah,
easy
exactly.
play.
Because the pick and roll defender was too busy with the screen. What's the
Exactly.
screen gonna do? And he read his foot and
Mm-hmm.
he attacked, the weak side. He rejected the screen. And that's what you have to do. And I think the best crafty scorers do that. They just focus on the footwork of the opponent, and if they need the screen, how is he going to react to my screen? And I have two options. I use the screen or I just reject it. And with
Absolutely.
him, the decision making is not perfect, but it's good 9 out of 10 times.
Mm-hmm.
And in the NBA, the athleticism really matters here. And with him, he's not the best athlete. If he would be, he can be maybe a first round pick, late in first round, early second, or whatever like that. But he makes the best out of his physicality with how he reads the game, with how he recognizes angles. And for
Mm-hmm.
me, that's worth a lot more, man, than raw athleticism, which you have to develop. Because this
Absolutely.
guy's feel for the game is worth more than the 4 years in college that he played.
I agree. And also, like, there's small little technical things, like how do you use a screen, right? A lot of guys, they go early, They don't connect on the screen. They make it too easy. He does not make this easy. He literally connects with zero, so it makes it impossible to get around this screen, right? And good screen by zero. So here, using that screen, now he's attacking the low man one-on-one. And once again, zero has no chance. He puts it up. He gets it around him. His ability to finish with a floater, maybe at the NBA level, if he ever becomes a starter at the NBA level, which is ambitious, but I mean, crazier things have happened. I think he'll need a floater. I think like Jamal Shed kind of has that floater. He needs something like that. Quickly has something like that.
Leverage for his threes, just to really make his offense sustainable.
Exactly. First step is obviously be a threat to score from three. Be willing to pull. Don't be scared. He's never scared. So I like that about him. He's not passive. Here he finds the defender. Look at the defender's position, right? What is the defender doing? The defender is forcing him to go which way?
He has to go to his right, but he's closing the angle a little bit. But I think Chucky made a mistake here because the defender was rushing the closeout, and he had to immediately step in the paint, but he stepped, right way, and he gave him a little bit an extra split second to correct this closeout. I think the defender is in the best position here, so he really has to have it from his hesitation. And
So
in the
the
NBA, I think that's a little bit of an issue if he makes decisions out of closeouts like this.
the defender is clearly trying to force him to go left, right? That's why but he's done it in
Yeah.
such a poor way that he can now go right. Like he's off
Because
balance
he's not
enough.
at 180 degrees. Because look at his right foot.
Exactly.
Basically asking him, "Hey, I'm closing my left side, but you have to
And
attract
he's
me right."
exactly. And he gets right past him, right? Defender is just off balance. He notices that in a split second and makes that decision. And now the defender is kind of getting what he wants, which is he has help at the rim, which is Ryan Cockburner. So here, Hepburn once again for the second time is going to take Cockburner at the rim, absorb the contact, finish through contact. To people who watch Ryan Cockburner at Creighton the last 3-4 years, trust me, guards don't do this very often to him. He's very good at this. So yeah, and then once again, another dribble drive, and this one was a little bit more Cade, in my opinion, just like very crafty manipulation of the dribble. Get the defender on your hip, absorb, take the bump, boom.
Yeah, a
Up and
little
over.
bit the elbow there before he ducks in the paint, man. I like that.
Yeah,
Not fouling, but you have to force your margins a little bit sometimes.
absolutely. So, I mean, here are the numbers. And obviously, scouts looked at this as well. And, finishing your collegiate career 35% from three, nothing to write home about. For context, Fred VanVleet was routinely like 39, 40% from three at Wichita State. He also went undrafted, similarly undersized guard. But look at that box plus minus year 1, year 2, year 3, Wisconsin, 2.4, 4.5, 7.1, 9.3. There was consistent, steady growth. The win shares, 2.2, 2.9, 3.7, 5.7. We saw usage increase from 15% to 24% in his final year. We see so many things, per 100 possessions. He started at 15 points in his first year at Wisconsin, ended out at his career at 27 points per 100 possessions. The assists went from 4.5 to 5.6 to 7.1 to 9.7. The steals, 2.1, 2.9, 3.8, 4.0. This type of clock-like growth across 4 years in the Big Ten and the ACC, both very, very strong conferences. He's not doing this in, some second-rate conference where he's the only good player and you play a really weak schedule. These are hard schedules, right? Like the Big Ten is a really difficult conference, and so is the ACC. And so the ability to grow like this, I think, is what appealed to the Raptors so much with him. Again, like 2-point efficiency as well. To go from 42% to 51 to 53.6%, I saw growth in everything. Even the free throw shooting. I mean, look at the free throw shooting. It's such a funny example, but like 69, 71, 74, 84.
Yeah,
You know what this shows me? He's working. This shows me he's working. He's a worker. It's not possible to become better at everything, but he got better at everything. Maybe the turnovers are a little bit high. Okay, yeah, like I can deal with that. But 9.7 to 5.0 turnovers per 100 possessions is a 2-to-1 assist to turnover ratio. He's probably a little bit more turnover prone than I would like, but overall, like I can live with it, man. Overall, I can
I
live with
think
it.
it's a context. I think it's a context of two things. At Louisville, he was actually, yeah, they were at the top of the scouting report, to put it like that, because they knew they had to run to him to get a bucket. And the free throw numbers, they tell you that he was forcing paint touches a lot more. And that's
Mhm.
maybe new territory for him, from going to 4 per 1 possession to over 9. So I think that's a little bit too much, growth in terms of year. And he has to make some mistakes on the ball as well, man, because you saw it against Cochran. He's just challenging defenders, and he's drawing doubles. Yeah, you lose the ball sometimes like that. I
So
think
they
in the NBA, no one's going to ask him to be the leading ball handler, so the turnovers won't be an issue.
right.
And yeah, I think as a decision maker, you don't want him as your full time point guard. That doesn't make sense. But he has to play more of that combo guard type of game, where his defense have to stand out. So that's why the turnovers don't really matter that much to me, on honesty, because the NBA context is going to be different for him.
Yeah, so this is kind of crazy, but d- so they were 27-8 last year, Louisville, with him, right? Do you know what they were the previous year?
Yeah, I think they won 3 games and then 2 games the year before in the conference. Yeah, they were trash, man. But
They were
that
8 and
their
24
coach,
the year before, so they
yeah,
improved by a grand total of 19 games with him. And he was, in my opinion, their best player. So, goes without saying, this guy impacts winning, and there's a little bit of Jamal Shed here, a little bit of that, winning DNA, bring it
yeah,
into your
4 year
gym.
growth.
Yeah. So these are some simple passes, like nothing flashy. There's nothing, but they're just intelligent passes. Like we all see what the pass is that's supposed to happen here, right? But
Yeah,
when you
exactly.
throw
But
it,
the deceleration, he's just winning extra time. He
exactly.
says to big man, hey man, be fair with your cut, and then I can feed you.
Yeah.
Here's the
And
same thing. Look at him and immediately recognizing that baseline. Okay, I have to go to
so
the weak
so
side.
now 22 is
Try
a
to
little bit
execute something.
late. What do you do here, right? Like and here he sort of surprised me because I was expecting him to shovel this back to 22 for a dunk, but instead he's gonna find this dude, which was like, that's interesting. And here, we're seeing passing and transition. I think passing and transition and passing half court are totally different situations. Jalen Suggs, for instance, is one of my favorite transition passers. Lonzo is one of my favorite transition passers. Kevin Love is one of my favorite transition passers. These guys are not as nearly as highly regarded, in my opinion, as half court passers. So I'm curious to see him in different situations. And here, it's a very clean advantage. It's an obvious pass. It's the pass to the shooter here. Nothing
Yeah,
flashy,
exactly.
very
You see the
basic.
drag screen, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna take my time. I think that's what I like most about him. He's just taking his time to make the good decision, not rushing anything, because he can completely ignore that incoming drag screen, stay at the weak side, and yeah, the defense is pivoting on him doing that. So, but he's trying to, explore his options. And I think with his court vision, with how he reads the game, that's vital, man. Because in the NBA, the opposing scouting report knows everything about you. So you always have to have a plan B. And he's showing that he always has a plan B, just with how patient he is and how good his
Right.
deceleration is.
Absolutely. So here we're going to see something that the Raptors really want to do, which is contain the basketball and force, get into the basketball, force turnovers. And here the offensive player is going to turn, and Chucky Hepburn is going to use those brilliant hands of his to swipe and knock this ball
He's
loose.
not biting on the pump fake either. I think the only thing is he was bumped out of his position a little bit too much,
Right.
and before the defender could really create the angle in the middle. But again, he's not biting on the pump fake. I think that's a great decision because he knew my feet are set. You're not gonna
Hmm.
beat me. You're gonna beat me in there immediately. I'm just gonna weigh him out. He's not hedging. He's not gambling. He's just reading what the scorer is gonna do. That's what I liked about this possession, man. Because initially, the ball handler got all the room that he wanted, but he still found a way to really, close that angle with his decision making. Because 9 out of 10 guys would bite on that pump fake immediately.
Yeah. And I think the Raptors want to play this way. You need athletes, you need depth to play this way. So at this point, I'm curious, what's your outlook for him at the NBA level? Some people really don't see you're one of those guys who watches everybody, watching the deep scouts, right? I love that about you. But a lot of people, they only want to watch Cooper Flag. They only want to watch Dylan Harper. They only want to watch the top guys. They want to watch Ace Bailey, Yegor Demon. They don't care about these other guys. Good organizations care about these other guys, and they find value in these other guys. If we had done an episode 4 years ago, it'd be talking about guys like Dyson Daniels, guys like Trey Murphy, Herb Jones, guys like this, right? These guys become like the the linchpins of your organization. They do all this small stuff, and to be able to find value in young players, especially young players who are ready to contribute, that's what the OKC Thunder are doing, right? Like the OKC has what, 2 guys who played major roles in their championship team on rookie contracts. You know what I mean? They have guys like Isaiah Joe, Lou Dort, guys like this that nobody cared about. Jalen Williams, J Will, not J Dub, that nobody cared about. Even J Dub, who became a lottery pick, was not supposed to be a lottery pick. He was playing out of some small
That
school,
was
Santa
all the
Clara.
top, man.
I thought he was going to be like the 25th to 30th pick, and now people are telling me he's a top 10 player in the NBA, which I don't agree with. But like, wow, you know, Isaiah Hartenstein was bumping around in the G League. Alex Caruso was a G League guy, right? So, like, for people who ignore the value in this stuff and they just want to talk shit about it, like, what's the best? Like, give me the floor and ceiling on Chucky Hepburn, in your opinion, and I'll share
I
with
think
you
the
mine.
floor is going to be a defensive specialist, and then he really has to get lucky to stick in the NBA because the defensive specialist is really situational, and there are tons of guys like that every year.
Right.
So, and for him, that's a bad position to be in. But you know, the outlook, and I think that the Raptors are going to give him that opportunity is to for him to play a little bit with getting downhill, making plays out of closeouts, playing a little bit as a slasher because he has the physicality. Because he whatever he does, he has to find more leverage for his threes. He can be a great one dribble pull up shooter, but it's not going to be sustainable because teams know that's their only move that he's going to do, or he's going to try to make the passing play. But then he's going to be stalling the offense. So for him, earning leverage on his threes is going to be do or die for his NBA future. He
Mhm.
can be out of the league in a couple of years, but let's say he improves with his paint touches, improves with getting downhill. I can see him being a rotational player for Raptors in year 1. And then after that, it can be everything, just like Fred VanVleet, for example. But let's see, he's too reliant on the three. Yeah, then he might be out of the league in a couple of years. That may sound harsh, but yeah, defensive specialist with maybe 1 or 2 dimensional offensive value. Yeah, it's gonna be tough, man. It's really you really have to be on the right team. I know it sounds cliche, but I think he's lucky that he went to the Raptors because that's the best position to be in to get that opportunity. Let's say he plays for another team like the Pelicans or something. Yeah, I don't see it really panning out there. But right now, he has proven his value in the preseason, but he's also shown that he's a little bit reliant on 3-point shots. And I think in this early stage of his career, that's a bad thing. But it can turn into a good thing if he's leveraging his threes a little bit too much. And he gets downhill and he has 2 dimensional value as a passer, as a downhill threat to really get into that one dribble pull up because I think his best offensive value is that one dribble three. And here we have seen it in all these clips, man. He finds all the angles to get them, and he has a quick release. He has a great shot process. He sets his feet quickly, and he's strong, man. He can shoot to a little bit of contact, draw a little bit fouls with these high five BS that the referees are now bringing into this game. He can play with angles and draw a little bit of fouls from there, but his
Right.
shooting will really rely on him getting downhill. He's not the quickest guy, he's not the best athlete, but he's strong and he's great decision making. But it's just 50-50, man. I know it sounds cliche, but he has a real chance to stick. He has a better chance than a lot of these other undrafted guys. But it's context. I think his value in the G League doesn't matter. What matters is what does he do off the bench in these 10, maybe 15 minutes off the bench for the Raptors.
Yeah. I think the value here is that he fits in 100% to what the Raptors demand from their point guard, right? Number one, be able to play off of Scotty, be able to play 0.5 basketball, right? I want to actually hold on. I want to share something from a D1 player who hit me up on a message, and I'm not going to tell you who it is, but oh, Cool. Sorry. So this is a D1 player who messaged me about Chucky Hepburn. Shout outs to this D1 player if he ends up watching this. I think he's insanely good on offense when he has a jumbo-sized playmaker next to him. He makes 0.5 decisions and isn't scared to get off the ball to let it come back to him after relocating, which pairs really well with Scotty and BI. On defense, he's insanely quick to rotate and he loves to get into the ball, very handsy. So if you're a ball handler so focused on him, you're bound to make a bad decision. And I personally think Scotty is a top 3% help side cleanup defender in the league. And CMB might not be too far and only going to get better. Ball handlers, nightmare duo. So I really I agree with that 100%. And that's kind of how I see him, right? Like you fit perfectly into what the Raptors need and they mask your deficiencies so well. In terms of player comps for him, are there any that come to mind? I'm gonna throw out a few player comps and you tell me if any of these kind of hit home. Number one, obviously, TJ McConnell, Peyton Pritchard, Davion Mitchell. This is the archetype. Nobody is out here saying he's gonna go and become, actually, you know what? Smaller Derek White without the insane wingspan. I don't know, like something like that would be maybe that's a little way too ambitious. Who else am I thinking?
I think Miles McBride.
Deuce McBride would be a really interesting comp too. Yeah, I mean, I get that. Deuce McBride. Someone saying he's more Jose Alvarado. I don't see that. I don't see that at all.
Alvarado's not really a defender like him. It's tough, but I think Hepburn, his value as a total defender is much better than Alvarado, man. Alvarado's value is offense.
One trick pony, Alvarado, with the little steals in the backcourt and stuff. Red Salute here was saying, thank you, Pensari and Ersin, for your masterful analysis. This is not only very informative, but also entertaining. Let's hope Chucky keeps improving. Check the link in the description and go follow Ersin on Substack. Check out his work. He's going to be covering, I'm sure, AJ Dabonsa, Cam Boozer, Dash Daniels, and all the prospects for this year's draft. I'm very excited about AJ. I actually interviewed his trainer the other day. Dude. Oh, AJ is going to be so good. I'm very hyped about AJ and Darren Peterson going into collegiate basketball. This is like the best collegiate class I've seen in a really long time.
Yeah, 100%, man. Everyone that gets a top 4 or 5 pick is going to land a potential star, man. And this year's class was not really the same. And this class is crazy, man. And all the returning players, I think it's going to make a lot more fun because it's all about context and go to the right program, right? But just like last year, I'm going to focus on the less coveted guys, man. Guys like Chucky. And last year, I lazily ignored Chucky because he was in his 4th year. And it was like, I didn't even check his eligibility. So when we did the episode, I saw him on the list of undrafted PH. I was like, crazy that he's here. Of course I'm going to take him. Because I like watching him in the Big Ten, man, with Wisconsin. I think with guys like Chucky, you get great players in terms of team players. He will never be an all-star. That's something that I will acknowledge. Even if he has a Fred VanVleet peak, I don't really see all-star in him, but all-star team player, that makes sense. A guy who makes guys around him better. Kind of the garbage man.
Yeah, you don't need these guys to become all-stars. What you need them to become is like important players for winning culture, right? Like I think about game theory a lot, right? And one of the things in game theory is like, is it collaborative or competitive, right? And how do you mix the both, right? So my ideal player that I want to draft is somebody who comes into my team, right? Knows that it's a team dynamic, knows that they're going to have to sacrifice to be a part of the team, is happily, willing to sit at the end of the bench, do G League reps, and has that selfless attitude, but is also competitive in the sense that they're willing to push the people ahead of them to become better. So pushing the Jamal Sheds, the Emmanuel Quickleys, making them better. A quote from Colin Murray Boyles was, he was asked, I think by Samson Folk or William Lou or one of the guys over here, tagging up and being physical with Scotty and BI and RJ and whatever. And he's like, well, there's nothing they can really do about it. So they're just going to have to get better. Right. I love that because to me, your second unit and your third unit sharpens your second unit sharpens your first unit. And if you have these insanely competitive team first guys who are willing to push the person ahead of them and are just working super hard, it's almost like they're setting a precedent, right? Like Fred VanVleet came to Toronto as a fourth string point guard. DeLon Wright was ahead of him. Corey Joseph was ahead of him. Kyle Lowry was ahead of him. And his first thought, which was arrogant as hell, but also confident and reflected his confidence, was like, well, they'll just trade one of them because I'm taking one of those spots, you know? And from day one, he went to the G League and, you know, Fred just consistently pushed. And there was this thing about Fred where right away people knew that this dude was serious, that he was very, very business minded when it came to basketball. He was about putting in the work, doing the right things. And honestly, like if I'm a Corey Joseph or DeLon Wright on this team, I'm looking at him like, shit, I guess this guy's coming for my spot. I better work a little bit harder. My backup is working 8 hours in the gym. I'm working 4 hours. I'm about to lose my fucking spot. So if he can just do one thing, which is push Jamal Shed up, make him better, sharper, more hungry. If they can both do one thing, which is sharpen Emmanuel Quickley's ball handling, decision making by pressuring him as much as they're going to pressure him, then that's just like Colin Murray Boyles making Brandon Ingram and Scotty Barnes sharper, dealing with help. And to me, it's like one of those things is like, if your practices are hard, your games are easier, right? So if you have guys like Jamal Shed, Chucky Hepburn, Elijah Martin, Colin Murray Boyles, like these guys may not be like great NBA players right now, but they're NBA athletes and they're extremely physical and they're very strong and they're going to foul you all day in practice. So if you're Scotty and you're BI, you're going to get tighter with your handle. You're going to get tighter with your shooting pocket. You're going to get more efficient with your movement because every time you don't, this rookie is going to rip the ball from you. So, yeah, I don't know. I'm very, very happy that he is in Toronto. And I think he could top out as a starter. I'd be very surprised if that happens, but I could see a world in which he's starting in the NBA at some point.
Yeah, he'll get the opportunity to play minutes and prove his value there. Even if he plays fast minutes, then 12 minutes a night, maybe even 8 or 6. I think he's going to make the most out of these minutes, just as you said, man, because his toughness that, you know, forces guys around him to improve. Because, yeah, otherwise, if someone gets comfortable, he's going to rob them, man, from the spot, from the money. Because it's NBA is a dirty business, man. We have 30 teams, but maybe 700-800 NBA players.
Yeah.
300 of them don't have a job because of,
What's the gap between him and Bronny James as players? Just give me the hypothetical. Give me the hypothetical. What's the gap between him and Bronny James as players?
I don't know, man. I think if I look at Bronny, is like you have a high school game, very local, and the stat keeper is taking bribes, and Bronny scores 5, and Chucky scores 25. But at the end of the night, Bronny has 25 on the box score, and Chucky has 5. I compare it like that. Nepotism versus hard work. And I think with Chucky Hepburn, the hard work always prevails. Because eventually, someone's going to be in the gym. I was like, I don't believe this guy scored 5, man.
Mm-hmm.
I think the efforts looked a little bit different.
If Chucky Hepburn and Bronny James end up on the same court in the G League, no nepotism, what's happening? He guards him the whole game, 35 minutes for that game. Out of the
Bronny goes for 20 points on 10 for 40 shooting or something like that. But this guy's not going to give him any breathing room. And ESPN will go Bronny at 20 points in the G League, and they just go with they ignore the field goal percentage. This is what this guy does, man. The defensive value and the offensive end.
I'm sorry, 10 for 40 has me dying. 10 for 40 has me dying. Okay. Legit, I think he's so much better than Bronny James as a basketball player. It's not funny, but people have no problem, like, you know, devoting ESPN articles to Bronny James. I'm really rooting for Chucky. I really am. Like, I think this is exactly the type of guy that I love. And look, again, I notice certain personality things that I think a lot of people don't, and it's interesting because I like try to build a model over like 15-20 years of draft evaluation. Like, what's a good sign, what's a bad sign, right? Sometimes even players saying things. Do you remember that draft party clip that I played in the beginning?
Yeah.
Where he's at his draft party, right?
Raptors. Yeah.
In the beginning of this clip, hold on, let me pull it up. It's so funny. In the beginning of this clip, when he gets drafted, when he finds out that he went, when he finds out that he went undrafted and he addresses the crowd, right? He says something that I consider to be very interesting. Hang on, I'm gonna find it. Where is it? Where is it? Where is it? So I think he's addressing the crowd right here. So
ball out, put on for everybody, you know what I'm saying? Do your thing, no cap. Keep God first, you already know.
Everybody down, come down real quick. First of all, I want to say thank y'all for coming out and supporting me. Y'all been watching me since a little kid, terrorizing the streets, all y'all.
I love the word terrorizing the streets. Love it. Okay.
Bust y'all ass for years.
And tells everyone who came to his draft party, I've been busting y'all ass for years.
Yeah, kind of that arrogance in him, but positive arrogance because he knows he's successful, but he still, I don't like the word humble because no one is really humble.
Fuck humility,
But I
dude.
think
Ersin, like if someone shows up,
this is
to your
nothing. This is just me starting. I think he's giving that sign. This is the starting of my journey.
Ersin, if someone shows up to your promotion party and you're just like, yo, I've been beating you guys like the whole time. I took your women. I took your job. I've been terrorizing. I love the confidence. Look, here's the thing. When you're 6 feet tall, when you're 6'1", 6'2", you got to have unrelenting confidence to make it as an NBA player. You got to have delusional confidence. Kyle Lowry, Fred VanVleet, that level, like that kind of toughness and confidence. If you look at the 6 foot players that have made it in the NBA, they are the toughest players in the NBA. Think about it. Allen Iverson, super tough. Isaiah Thomas, super tough, right? Fred VanVleet, Kyle Lowry, Dennis Schroeder, literally anyone under 6'2" who makes it in the NBA is so tough. Why are you so tough? Well, partially because I'm pretty sure 900,000 people told you to quit at some point and you kept going, right? Because when you're 5'11", 6 feet, they do tell you to quit. They tell you to focus on realistic things. You're not tall enough to play basketball. And then you just got to keep fighting. And you just abused, right? And then also think about like, you're constantly going into the paint. You're getting blocked by these, giants, right? So I don't know. I think there's a requisite toughness to him, and I like it. He's not nice at all. He's very mean, and I like it. And yeah, I think he's going to push Jamal Shed a lot, and I think he's going to push Emmanuel quickly. And you know what? I see a lot of Fred and Kyle in these two, Jamal Shed and Chucky Hepburn. If any of them become half as good as those two guys, big win for the Raptors because you found these guys 45th and undrafted. But yeah, anyways, man, any thoughts from you? Any final thoughts? Any rookies you want to touch on? Anything Colin Murray Boyles related? I open this up to you.
I think what I like about the Raptors is, when during the draft, I was like, what is Raptors going to do? Are they trying to compete for a top 6 seed? Avoid play-ins? What's the plan? But right now, if I look at the Raptors, they should be a top 16 in the East. The East is kind of weaker this year because of all the injuries. So that's an opportunity. But I think this group is ready because they addressed everything that they didn't have last year. They have a lot of ball dominant guys, and now they are taking pieces to finalize the puzzle in CMB, but also in undrafted free agency because they are just focusing on the roles that they don't have. So for me, I wouldn't be shocked if the Raptors win like 45 games. They finish 6th or 7th, and then they have a first round exit, and they build from there. I think that's the outlook for this season. And for me, the biggest thing is how much is Scotty Barnes is gonna play this year. Let's see, he's healthy, plays 70 plus games. Does he have an all-star campaign? I think he has it in him, but he's gonna be reliant on the guys around him, man, because it has to be his team to run. But I think Raptors, it's his team to run, right? So I think that's not really a question. I think for this team to succeed, it has to be his team to run. And he has now pieces to make it happen for himself with CMB being the primary guy. Hepburn is rotational and situational. Let's be honest; he's not going to be a starter for this team, but maybe he will eventually. But I think CMB is like the puzzle piece that the guys around him needed, man.
Yeah, and I mean, like, people who I think the one thing that I love about draft evaluation is it allows you to sort of see who players were and then relish in learning about what they become, right? I remember Kyle Lowry at Villanova. I remember Kyle Lowry in Memphis, Kyle Lowry in Houston. A lot of Raptor fans don't remember that player. So here I present to you Kyle Lowry versus Scotty Barnes through 4 years of their career. That is shocking. Okay? Those numbers are not lying to you. Okay? They were the same age, 20 to 23. Scotty was a freaking all-star by this point. Lowry didn't become a full-time starter in Toronto until the age of 27, right? But people are so quick to, throw out everything and say, no, he'll never be better than this guy. Who the hell are we to say who someone is 100% definitively going to be or not going to be at 23? I think the fact that he's made an all-star team by the age of 22 is a very good omen. I think the fact that he won Rookie of the Year is a good omen. I think that he has like twice the value of a replacement over Cade Cunningham is a good omen. I think if I had to rank out the seasons that Cade and Scotty have had, I think Cade's last season was best season among the two players. But I think the second best season among those two players is Scotty's 2023. And then after that, maybe a Cade season. After that, a couple of Scotty seasons. But the worst seasons are all Cade. Cade's had the worst rookie season, the worst second-year season. Last year, Cade led the entire NBA in loose ball turnovers. Number one by a mile. He just dribbling it off his foot, dribbling it out of bounds, getting picked from behind, whatever, So it's just like, we can't nitpick too much, but I think these additional players around Scotty, like having a healthy Emmanuel Quickley for this year, having, the release valve at the end of the clock, like a Brandon Ingram who can create his own shot and do all that stuff, having Sandro Mamukelashvili, who I really love. I love that dude. I'm sure you watched him at Eurobasket for Georgia, and just like that's the big that I want with Scotty, like the dribble, pass, shoot, cut, quick processing big who can actually stretch the floor 37% from three, and not like the corpse of Kelly Olynyk, which is what he was playing with last year. So just like, and then also just having an athletic toolsy defender like CMB, obviously I wanted Carter Bryant, but like whatever, like it's similar thing defensively that you're accomplishing, which is you're lessening the load defensively on him to be that pressure attack defender. So I don't know. I think the Raptors are going to have somewhere between 42 and 50 wins. I'd be very surprised if it's less than 42. I'd be very surprised if it's more than 50. But unfortunately for Raptor fans, you're not getting AJ DeBonsa because you're going to be a playoff team this year. So that kind of sucks. But yeah, anyways, man, it was really, really good catching up with you. Very, very good. I have a question for you. What's your early prediction for Rookie of the Year?
Now I'm gonna go with the lazy answer, man. Cooper Flag is the NBA's product.
Okay,
I think
fine.
Trey Johnson is gonna challenge him.
Really?
Yeah,
Trey Johnson.
I think the Wizards if they look at their team, it's all built on defenders, man. Someone has to score. Of course, everyone is on the Keontae George.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I like Trey Johnson. I think he's been drafted to be that bucket getter this year.
Is this the year that Bilal Coulibaly? Can we get a Bilal Coulibaly breakout year?
I don't know, man.
I don't know.
I think he's a little bit too modest. I think it's the fake toughness with him. I don't really buy it with him. He's a great defender, a lot of potential, but I don't see it that much.
I
think that's where Trey comes in. That's where Trey should come in. But the NBA's brand is Flag, man. He already has won the Rookie of the Year, of course, an entire season. But let's say Flag puts up 80 points a game, he has the award, man.
So if Flag doesn't win it, you think it would be Trey Johnson?
I think Trey Johnson will challenge him, man. My third choice will be VJ Edstrom, but yeah, Philly is too crazy, man. Everything can happen.
Everything can happen. They could literally be a 50-win team, or they could be a 12-win team. Like they are so polar. Like Edgecombe scores 22 points per game on 35 shots game, and like 15 missed dunks every single game, and 4 poster highlights. It's unbelievable. Like Jared McCain is already injured. Embiid is doing one-on-one practice right now. Paul George is podcasting apparently. Like it's weird. The one player that I think could make a push for it is Jeremiah Fears. Maybe, but like I really like him. I can't remember, how high were you on him pre-draft?
Nah, I remember people, they asked me in February what you thought about him. I was like, I don't know, I've never watched the guy. But then it was like getting a lot of buzz, so people called me crazy for it. When I did watch him, I understand hype. But honestly, it's not comparing him to Dillingham by any means. But the reason Dillingham didn't play that much in his, in his first year was that lack of physicality. Okay, is he ready to play the game? With Fizz, I have
Mhm.
the same thing. I think maybe the Pelicans, they need help at guard, but do they give him the reins? I don't know, because Zion is still there, and Zion
Mhm.
looks healthy now. Every year he does so. It's all situational. But for me, I don't know if he's really ready to play 80 minutes or 25 minutes a game. I don't really.
Mhm.
I'm not
Well,
really big of fan of that big
two
guy.
guys that neither one of us were all that high on, Yang Hansen and Ace Bailey.
Yeah,
Both have
it's
looked
crazy, man.
very good. I have to say, Ace Bailey, since firing his agent, has looked absolutely awesome. There's a conspiracy that's out there that Ace Bailey's. Have you heard about this?
Yeah, that he wanted to go to the Wizards, right? And then Utah took
Well,
him.
the reason he wanted to go to the Wizards, do you know this?
I don't know.
His dad, sorry, not his dad, Sharif Cooper's dad, Omar Cooper, allegedly had negotiated a deal with the Wizards that if he got Ace Bailey to the Wizards, that they would give Sharif Cooper a two-way contract to get back to the NBA.
That's crazy.
You know what's crazy? A few days ago, they signed Sharif Cooper.
Yeah, it could be, man.
That's conspiracy, bro. That
Yeah,
is very, very convenient.
it
And then
wouldn't shock me, man. I think the
yeah,
NBA is a little bit rigged with that type of
Ace
connection.
Ace fired him very soon after that. So that was very interesting. But yeah, I've been very impressed with Ace Bailey. He's playing within himself. He's playing very, very, he's a big playmaker. He's about 6'7", 6'8", decent passer, potentially a very good defender. He had a terrible situation last year at Rutgers. I feel like maybe I bought too much into the, pre-draft stuff, but I really like him right now as a movement shooter and just coming off of curls and coming off of handoffs, like what he's doing. If he keeps doing this, he'll be an all-star for sure. Like if
Yeah,
he does
because the
what he's doing
archetype is
right
too
now,
valuable.
yes, he will be an all-star. However, if he reverts back to that, ISO bullshit, driving into the paint, not processing the court, getting ripped, that stuff is a little bit hard for me, especially given that he measured in around 6'7.5" as opposed to 6'10". Like if he was 6'10", I wouldn't care as much, but at 6'7", I don't see the KD stuff, and I see him as like a really good athlete. If he can dial up defensively, he could be like the face of the franchise for the Utah Jazz. And Hanson Yang, I mean, shit, man, this guy's like looking pretty decent out there. Like he's put up a good performance. I still don't think he's anything close to Klingon. I don't think he's going to push Klingon for starter spot anytime soon. But they could have like a really good center rotation of two legit 7'2" mountain human beings. Very interesting
Yeah,
shit
I
going
was
on in
kind of
Portland.
shocked with that one either, man. I was like, this guy is on fire there in Portland. And he brought his teammate. He's going to the University of Oregon in the same city. So he
Oh
has,
wow,
yeah, I
he
think
has
it's
support.
Kaylin or something his name, but he's going to Oregon. I think he's older than Hensing. It's crazy. He's going to play college hoops.
That's funny that he's older than him.
Yeah, man. And I'm
Yeah,
happy he did well. He proved me wrong, crazy, man, because I was like, do I even put a guy like him in my top 60? But I'm proud of my misses, man, because eventually everyone learns, I have to learn every year to get better.
I was the guy who took him in our group draft. I took him in the 50s to the
Yeah.
Knicks. I was like, yes, the Chinese superstar goes to the Big Apple. Probably a lot better had he gone to the Knicks, to be completely honest with you, than the Portland Trailblazers. There's going to be a lot of competition. Whereas right away with the Knicks, you could see him as the
And they
the
have still
franchise
Aiton, right?
future. Huh?
Aiton is still on the Raptors. Sorry, the Blazers, right?
Aiton's gone. He's in the Lakers now.
Oh, yeah, that's right. I forgot about that.
I
I don't
think
know.
I think
Maybe they'll play too much.
DeAndre Ayton is going to disappoint people this year, man. Like I
Yeah.
feel it in my bones. I cannot trust this guy. I cannot trust him
Classic
with
Lakers
basketball.
hype.
Lakers type, like
Yeah,
you mean
Lakers hype.
the Lakers hype? Yeah, I mean
Yeah.
last year, like the Portland Trailblazers, who are a very decent organization in terms of like running their draft, running their talent evaluation, running their team culture. They're paying this guy to not play for them. To me, that is a very big indictment of you as a basketball player, that they're willing. It shows me no one was willing to trade for you. Your former first overall pick, borderline all-star type, went to the finals. Like there's no real major injury here. It's not like he tore his Achilles. He just hasn't given a shit about basketball for 4 years. And oh, by the way, he stopped giving a shit about basketball the second he got paid. To me, I would keep this guy a million miles away from my organization.
Yeah.
To this point, I would rather have Chucky Hepburn and Elijah Martin on my team than DeAndre Ayton. That's how very legitimately I view this type of personality, this type of player being around my young and very impressionable locker room. So that's kind of how I see it, man. Anyways, thanks a lot for coming on. Appreciate you very, very much.
Thank you.
And yeah,
thanks to everyone tuning in. It was an honor for me to come back again, man. I had a lot of fun doing this.
Yeah. Let them know where they can find you, man.
You can find me on Substack. You know, with the newsletter, I write about the less coveted guys. That's my pure focus. So for the guys that pop up after 20 on the draft boards, not really AJ DeBonza or something, but nonetheless, I'm spending the summer and now the preseason time to focus on the new group, and then go write about prospects again, man. But there's one thing that I want to do different this year is to be more in the gym, man. Go to games, go to workouts. I want to go to the States as well. And, you know, and try to do something from there. But for me, it's a hobby gone out of control, you know. And again, thank you for having me on, man. The draft shows were legendary. And for things like this, I have a lot of fun doing this.
Yeah, me too. I love it. And please come back anytime. I look forward to talking to you about the 2026 draft. Obviously, the Raptors will have a second round pick, I believe, next year. I'm not mistaken. They have a second round pick and their first round pick, but it'll be like a mid first round pick. So we'll see. You know, those are always the most interesting drafts because you never know. Like when you have the 18th pick, that to me is like the scariest part of the draft because you don't know if a lottery talent's going to drop. You know, one of them's going to drop. You don't know which one's going to drop. Is it going to be Cam Whitmore? Is it going to be OG Anunoby? You know what I mean? So it's just like it's a nice place to be if you know what you're doing in the draft. You know, 18 is a good place to be. You know, 17, 16, 15, I think wherever the Raptors end up. I mean, shit, Khalil Ware was the 15th overall pick. Kawhi was the 15th overall pick. Giannis was the 15th overall pick.
Yeah, not Robert in, man, but Carter Bryant was kind of in that range as well.
Carter was 14th. Yep, he was. Yeah, I just had to miss the playoffs just by a little bit. Yeah. Anyways, man, take care, enjoy, and please hit like and subscribe, guys. And please definitely go check out and subscribe and follow Ersin on drafts on Substack. So yes, the link is in the description. And yeah, man, peace.